One Piece somehow keeps getting crazier. Like, I'm in Thriller Bark right now, and even though I'm only a few episodes in, the amount of insanity my eyes have had to witness, even within these few episodes, is just insane. Like, I wasn't expecting Luffy here to turn into Ash from Pokemon trying to catch all the monsters he can. Like, you have a problem, but I am getting ahead of myself. Because putting Luffy aside, the amount of other crazy things I've seen, whether it's a talking skeleton, who's also a pervert, freaky creatures, a Diddy ghost, like, where the flip did they go? And that's not even talking about the amount of insane things the crew has already done. Like, Luffy already has a mountain of new evidence against him, which, like, if I was a civilian in the One Piece world, I may not be a rat, but all I'm saying is I might call up the Marines being like, hey, yeah, I've got an anonymous tip for you, which they'd be like, you're calling again? Like, this is the 1,000th anonymous tip on this crazy Straw Hat guy. And I'm like, yeah, but you won't believe what he's doing now. Like, I saw him assaulting this zombie dog and then a bunch of other zombies, and they'd probably be like, wait, aren't the zombies more of the problem? And I'm like, no, that's what you would think, but they're afraid of him, like the amount of stuff he's already done to them, like somebody needs to stop him. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself because after the Water 7 saga ended, I expected maybe a slower paced adventure, because I'm like, after all the reveals of the last few episodes, whether it's the new ship or Garp or Dragon or Blackbeard versus Ace, I mean, just like maybe we could slow down a tiny bit. But then this arc happens, because then all of a sudden you see a barrel drifting in the ocean, and I'm getting PTSD, like, not again. Last time there was a barrel drifting in the ocean, this crazy Straw Hat guy leapt out of it, and then I don't know, like, I've been following him around all this time, watching him commit all these crimes, but he's also wildly entertaining, so, you know, it's hard not to look away. It's like watching a car crash or something like that. You see the impending disaster, but you're like, I can't look away, I just can't. But I'm like, they're not stupid enough to pull a barrel out of the ocean of what looks like an obvious trap. They pull it out of the ocean, and it's an obvious trap. Anyway, one thing leads to another. There's a storm. They end up deep within the Florian Triangle, but little did they know the real crazy was about to show up, because everything all of a sudden turns spooky, and I love the aesthetic, but then the crew is really leaning into it. They're trying to scare Usopp, and I'm like, Usopp, this scares you? You should be worried not about what's out there, but what's currently on the ship. Like, for example, the first time they met Chopper, Sanji and Luffy immediately tried to eat him. Like, I could go on and on. Zoro slaughtering an entire town? Sure, were they bounty hunters? Yeah, I mean, sure, but like, it was still insane. But anyway, the crew is trying to scare Usopp, then everyone gets scared because a creepy ghost ship turns up. It's making all sorts of weird noises, and you know, personally, if it's dark and weird noises start happening, I'm gone. Like, I'm just gone. No questions need to be asked at that point. And because you see this ghost ship turn up with this skeleton, and they can barely make it out, but you can see, like, it's a skeleton on board, which freaks out everyone except Robin. Like, Robin is like, no big deal. I'm actually surprised how freaked out some of them got, like Zoro. I haven't seen Zoro this afraid since Luffy last attacked him, you know, for slaughtering an entire town of people. Like, no big deal or anything. And then Luffy, I'm like, what do you have to be afraid of? What, you're in danger? You are the danger. And sure enough, Luffy's like, hold up. That's interesting. That looks like fun. Now, Sanji and Zoro are like, hold up. No, you're gonna do something insane because you're an idiot, and we gotta stop you from doing something idiotic. Little do they know, you can't idiot-proof Luffy. But they try their hardest because Luffy, Sanji, and Nami, they go onto the boat, but they get on, they quickly meet the skeleton. He is friendly, in fact, too friendly. Like, the dude walks up to Nami and he's like, can I see your panties? What? I'm sorry, what? Did I hear that right? And this is the moment I should have immediately put two and two together, and it's just like, crap, he's insane. He's gonna join the crew, isn't he? Like, you can't be that insane and not join the crew. Not to mention, Nami absolutely smokes this dude, hurting a skeleton, proving the laws of nature don't apply to Nami's attacks on her own crew. So again, I should have put two and two together, but it still is utterly insane, because even in this situation where you have a skeleton, an idiot, a pervert, and Nami, I didn't expect the crazy turn because Luffy finds him hilarious, and he walks up to the skeleton. He doesn't know his name yet. Now, his name is Brook, but he doesn't know his name yet. And Luffy's like, okay, I've got this. Join my crew. What? Like, certainly, this skeleton doesn't know you. Neither of you know each other's names. The skeleton's like, yeah, I'll join your crew. Wait, like, are you sure? Like, I don't have a problem against you, but like, this monkey guy is insane. You sure? Like, do you have any idea of the insane stuff he's done? Well, obviously not, because you don't even know his name. You don't know anything about him. But Brook is probably thinking like, I'm insane. He's insane. What more do we need? Anyway, so I know like, okay, this is going to set up a crazy adventure because now you're in this weird place. There's a skeleton. You've got a new crew member, which underrated part about this, the crew in the last few days has gained, or regained, I should say, 4 new members because Usopp and Robin rejoined the crew. Not to mention Frankie joined, and now there's Brook. You can even make the argument that it's 5 with their ship, the Sunny. So technically, in a couple days, their crew has doubled in size. I haven't seen a recruitment rate that high since the East Blue. But Luffy's probably thinking, I've got to get the numbers up because I'm going to the new world. Anyway, so Luffy gets back onto the ship. He has this skeleton and it's like, we wanted you to do something not entirely insane. what the flip have you done? And the skeleton's like, my name is Brook, and they are just incredibly rude to the skeleton. I'm even shocked, like, okay, you don't have to say all that to his face, like maybe behind his back, but not to his face. And Zoro's even like, I won't accept this, and I'm like, buddy, you already played that card last arc. You gotta wait at least a full arc before you can play that card again. And Luffy is just laughing his head off like, you think you can stop me from doing something insane? I am insane. And while Luffy is saying all this, Brook is now asking Robin for her panties. Dude, you gotta stop that, okay? You have a problem. But the thing is, the more crazy stuff Brook did, the more I was like, yeah, he's definitely gonna join the crew. It's a perfect match. Now, the entire rest of the crew is still like, I don't know about this. Usopp and Chopper are trying to exorcise him. Not a great meeting. And they're like, Luffy, no, we can't do this. And Luffy's like, what do you guys want me to do? There's no takebacks. And so the entire crew sits down to eat a meal, and personally, it's kind of heartwarming. Now, sure, Brook has no manners, like whatsoever, but we learn about Brook, how he has a devil fruit that's able to bring you back to life. He died. The problem is his soul had the directional skills of Zoro, took a while to find his way back to his body, so his body decayed, now he's a skeleton. But the more Brook talks about his predicament, the crazier it gets, because he's like, yeah, I don't have a shadow, so I can't leave, because if you don't have a shadow, you can't go into the sun. And so then he comes to the conclusion, like, I can't accept your offer, I really appreciate it, and I'm like, the flip. And he's like, well, it's not you, I appreciate it, but I can't go out into the sun. And I'm like, wait, why are you applying basic logic to this? The dude wants you on his crew. You've told him a bunch of stuff that just sounds like a wacky adventure. He can't help himself. He's like, I'll kill whoever it takes to get back your shadow. Now Brook is like, I can't ask you to do that. And I'm sure Luffy's thinking, well, I was gonna kill a bunch of people either way. That was just a good excuse. Plus, as I said, there's no takebacks, Brook. You're on the crew. We've technically had 3 members leave or somewhat leave the crew. They're all back. Because you cannot escape that crazy dude. And if it wasn't clear, Brook was already part of the crew. He was like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a musician. Let me play you a song. Makes perfect sense. You can't tell Luffy you're a musician, something he always wanted on his crew, and then be like, peace. He's like, no, you get back there. And so Brook is about to play a song, but then this rude ghost interrupts them, freaks everyone out. Now, to be fair, it's not as bad as the Diddy ghost, which I'll talk about in a moment. And suddenly a bunch of stuff happens. They realize they've been trapped within this place called Thriller Bark. And I'm like, wait. Someone willingly trapped this guy and his crew in their home? Like, willingly. Do they want to die? But I'm like, yeah, we're going on this crazy adventure. Plus, we gotta get back Brook's shadow. I just wasn't expecting the next few episodes to get completely insane. Each episode somehow got crazier. So it's at this point the crew realizes they're in a horror film and they're like, we've got to start making horribly bad decisions. If you see a highly suspicious person, trust them completely. But the decision making aside, then you have this insane guy Luffy, because he comes out and he's just like, okay, time to shine. I've always wanted to be a Pokemon trainer. What? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna catch every creature I can. What are you gonna do with those creatures there, Luffy, huh? Things. I don't think I even want to know. But speaking of bad decisions, you have Nami, Chopper, and Usopp, and they're like, we are terrified, so we're not going to put ourselves in any sort of position to die. Anyway, so Nami, Chopper, and Usopp are all in the Mini-Mary, and they're like, we got to make horrible decisions. They go far away extremely fast. Eventually, they hit into a wall. All of them go tumbling down into this valley. But then things go from bad to worse, because then Cerberus, or Discount Cerberus, forget even discount, like people couldn't give away this Cerberus. Discount Cerberus is like, yeah, I'm gonna kill every single one of you. Now ordinarily they would be fine, because this crazy guy would immediately and without mercy start attacking this animal for no particular reason. In fact, he's going to. I'll get into that though. Problem is that monkey boy is not here. Run? Like immediately? Which they do now. Even Cerberus is, I don't even know, like 2 dogs and a fox. They ran out of dogs. Like, it's not that hard to get dogs. I'm not even saying that you should get a dog just to slaughter it so you can actually make like a proper Cerberus, but like that what kind of art project is this? Like, the thing is, every creature on this island reminds me of that Chopapa freak. And if you don't know, I hate on Chopapa because he's a freak. So it's like, okay, finally, they made a good decision. They climbed into a tree. Then this bat freak shows up. His name is Hildon. And it is very clear he should not be trusted, so they trust him immediately. And he's like, come back to Dr. Hogback's mansion. Now, maybe they would be less trusting of this obviously untrustworthy person, but then Chopper's like, Dr. Hogback, and for whatever reason, they're like, yeah, let's listen to the raccoon dog. Like, he may have medical knowledge, no common sense. I don't even fully blame Chopper, because Usopp and Nami are supposed to be far more intelligent. What are we doing here? Meanwhile, back on the ship where you have the real monsters and the real threats, not just to Thriller Bark, but the entire world. Like, there may be a lot of sickos on Thriller Bark. This crew is just a bunch of monsters. Speaking of sickos though, the ghost of Diddy shows up and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna start touching a bunch of people, and then Robin, I'm gonna touch her, and then I'm gonna lick her in a way that still disturbs me to my core. Like, the flip is going on here? Diddy leaves, the ship gets carried into this web, but again, there's like a grand entrance, like, come in here, come in here. It's not a trap, it's definitely a trap. The problem is, we've got this guy here. Like, anyone who would willingly bring this guy onto their island, whatever happens to you happens. It's basically your fault at this point. And believe it or not, as crazy as everything has been up to this point, this is where the real insanity begins. Anyway, so because they decide we're in a horror movie, we gotta make stupid decisions, they look at this dude who is very creepy and they're like, we will trust you. Do you all want to die? Painfully and probably in horrible ways? Now, to be fair, it is foggy and they say like we can barely see around us, but even a blind person could see there's something weird going on here. But it's because they're listening to this raccoon dog and it's just like, yeah, Dr. Hogback is great, he's a great surgeon, but he went missing. Like, none of that is suspicious. Where are your survival instincts? Not to mention, look at this guy. Just like, look at him. Then again, they are the same people that looked at Luffy and were like, yeah, we should join his crew. But anyway, Nami's starting to get a little suspicious and she's looking outside and she sees a lion and she's like, that's a little weird. Then the lion sees her and I'm like, I feel assaulted. I don't know, just looking at that creature, I feel assaulted. But it gets worse because they all look outside and they see a bunch of its other freaky friends. And to be fair, Nami wisens up and she's like, okay, no, like, please take us back. And Chopper is like, no, I want to die. So I want to go and see Dr. Hogback. Like, please let me see Dr. Hogback. And this is when Usopp is just like, shut the flip up. We are going back. So this dude here, this bat guy, is just like, okay, wait here a moment. So I'm like, okay, like, you know, you wait like 30 seconds, a minute for him to come back. 10 minutes go by. They just waited 10 minutes? Like, it wasn't suspicious after like 3 or 4 minutes, not to mention like all the other crazy stuff that's happened. I'm starting to think they want to die. But eventually they realize they were abandoned. A bunch of zombies show up, so they run away. Where the flip do they run? Well, they go to exactly where that creepy bat dude was trying to take them. Dr. Hogback's mansion. I guess they want to die. They show up, there's this creepy servant here who hates Usopp for... well, I'm still not entirely sure why. It probably has something to do with her past, but it just feels discriminatory. Anyway, but Dr. Hogback comes out and it's just like, okay, but maybe he'll be a normal looking guy. The flip is that. Then no, like, they're gonna look at this dude and be like, yeah, no, he's not trustworthy. No, Chopper's just like, yeah, I want this guy to do horrible stuff to me. I'm gonna trust him. He's like, don't mind me. I'm just, you know, kind of creepy and definitely doing some shifty stuff. By the way, don't go into my lab because I'm definitely doing horrible stuff in there. And oh yeah, and by the way, the only reason I disappeared is because people, they couldn't handle my genius. It's not because I'm doing freaky stuff, I swear. And at this point, like, the decision making is just abysmal. What the flip is going on? Now, to be fair, Nami's like, I'm gonna go and take a bath, but I need you guys to stand guard because this place is freaky. I don't want to die or have strange things happen to me. Now, strange things still happen to her because the ghost of Diddy shows up, and yeah, Diddy here is just like, I'm gonna make you my bride. The flip? What is wrong with you? Anyway, so the ghost of Diddy was spying on her in the bathroom. Like, was it because he was suspicious and he was just like, I gotta gather intel? He's just a freak. But like, some crazy stuff happens, Usopp eventually chases him away, and the strangest part about all this is Dr. Hogback hears the commotion, and instead of thinking, what was that loud explosion? He's immediately like, is that freak at it again? Like, is Diddy at it again? Like, how often does this happen? The fact is, he said again. But I'm like, okay, enough is enough. Let's get the flip out of here. No, they don't. Because Chopper here is like, I just want to talk to Dr. Hogback one more time. I'm sure he's a good person. You really want to die. You stupid raccoon dog, you want to die. This is where the true craziness begins. Because the true agent of chaos himself, Monkey D. Luffy, he arrives at the main part of Thriller Bark. And this is when Luffy comes across Discount Cerberus here. I don't need to get into all of Luffy's past with animals. It's just not good, okay? Like, seriously, the authorities need to be informed. And Discount Cerberus here is like, your friends were weak, this should be easy. And Luffy looks at it, and he licks his lips. I don't like that. Like, he might be on our side. Like, why is this dude licking his lips? Well, Luffy says it. He's like, it looks yummy. The flip? Like, how does that thing look yummy? Like, look at this thing. What about it looks yummy? First of all, you want to eat it? Why? Why do you want to eat this? But it gets worse and worse because then this monkey guy here is just like, I'm gonna start barking at this thing, which freaks out Discount Cerberus here because it's like, the flip? Like, I'm surrounded by freaks on this island. You might be the strangest creature here. But the dog is just like, okay, I am going to die. It gets defensive and Zoro's like, okay, Luffy, you want me to cut it? And Luffy's like, no. I'm gonna tame it because I gotta be like Ash. I've gotta catch them all. He walks up and he tries the peaceful option. He's like, Paw. Discount Cerberus attacks him immediately and violently. Do you want to die? Anyway, so Luffy tames it. How does he do that? He knocks it out, so I guess it's a successful taming. I mean, I don't know. I've never seen it happen that way. And what's worse than that, after assaulting this animal, Luffy starts riding it, which honestly is a power move. Like they think they've trapped Luffy, when in reality, he is their doom. Like, I haven't even seen what happens. I know it's not going to be good for anyone on this island. But anyway, as insane as taming Discount Cerberus was, he doesn't stop. In fact, they come across a tree and a unicorn drinking together, and Luffy's like, okay, Frankie, let's get them. And they get them. Like, I don't know what the flip this guy is doing here, but then he's like, okay, you guys want to join the crew? Now, thankfully, they convince him not to, or who knows? I don't even know what this guy is thinking like 90% of the time. I'm starting to wonder more about asking Brook to join the crew because on the one hand, I like Brook already. On the other hand, why the flip did you ask these two to join the crew? Like seriously. But going back to Nami, Usopp, and Chopper, they decide that instead of running away as fast as possible, we gotta go and talk to Dr. Hogback one more time. They get jumped by a bunch of paintings. What? Yeah, like a bunch of paintings just like come alive. Like a whole bunch of stuff happens. There's even a polar bear rug that tries to kill them. Like everything here just tries to kill them. But they do what they're very good at, running away from danger, but not running far enough away to actually run away from the danger entirely. And while running away, they start learning stuff like that creepy girl who hates plates is actually dead. Like really? Really? Like none of this gave it away that maybe she's not exactly alive? Or how about the fact that there were all these zombies and creepy things? Or the fact that this Dr. Hogback was like, I like to bring people back from the dead. None of that gave it away. Like none of it. But anyway, as much as they're struggling, Luffy is having the time of his life, at least until a bunch of these ghosts shouting the word negative show up, and they fly through a bunch of the crew, making them feel negative emotions. Now, to be fair, that does make sense. On the other hand, it is pretty scary that many of our strongest fighters are incapacitated by a bunch of ghosts. Any foe Luffy can actually fight and punch, he'll probably be fine. Problem is when you can play with his psyche or his mind, well, he's got a weak mind to begin with, so he's screwed. But anyway, Luffy keeps walking along. This zombie comes out of the ground and he kind of freaks me out. Like, what is he going to do? Is he going to try and tame this zombie? But he does some more stuff to it because all of a sudden he walks over and just pushes it into the ground, which as crazy as that is, it actually becomes crazier when you really think of the implications because the zombie gets upset. It springs up and Luffy's like, it's an injured old man, which obviously it's not. But if you thought it was, why would you push it back into the ground? What are we doing here? Like you thought that this was an old guy and you were like, yeah, let me just return you to the ground. Anyway, this is when all the zombies decide to mobilize against this guy, which is the worst thing you can do. Like they're running at this guy and he smiles and he's like, you want to fight? Good. It's definitely not good for them because they get destroyed. But it gets even worse for them because they are literally pleading on their knees like, please don't hurt us more. And they start spilling everything. And so he and the crew returns them back to the earth violently. Now this is when an actual severely injured old man shows up, but Luffy sees this old man and he's like, an NPC has shown up to deliver me my quest. So what is my quest? And this old guy is just like, well, there's a bunch of us here, we're trapped, our shadows were taken by this bad guy, Gecko Moria. Oh, by the way, he's a warlord of the sea. This whole place is actually a giant ship. It's the largest ship in the world. Can you please beat him up for us? Like, can you do that? And you could tell, regardless of what Luffy actually tells this man, he's like, well, I was probably gonna beat up everyone on this island regardless. So sure, like, yeah, sure. I mean, like, why not? Now, genuinely, I have no idea how strong this Gecko Moria guy is. Either way, I don't think it's gonna end well for this Gecko Moria freak. Meanwhile, Usopp, Nami, and Chopper come across Dr. Hogback's lab, and they quickly see like, oh, it looks like he's actually experimenting on zombies. Really? Okay, you finally realized, like finally. What took you guys so long? Like seriously. Now Dr. Hogback catches them, and he's like, well, it doesn't matter because the night raid is about to begin. And I'm just thinking, I don't know what's gonna happen in the night raid. It's probably not gonna go the way you think it is. You've trapped a really crazy guy in here. And the very last thing I've seen of so far this pretty crazy arc is Luffy opens the gates to the mansion and he's like, okay, let the fun begin. It's not gonna end well for anyone here except Luffy and his crew. Thriller Bark, kind of an insane arc, really fun overall. Anyway, what do you think? If you want to see more of these videos as I go through One Piece and different anime, please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.